The fury born from a broken heart, the sacrifice of Patroclus, and the fall of Achilles. The price of immortality. Imagine possessing enough strength to defeat any army, yet being utterly powerless in the face of losing a single person. Kings feared him, soldiers whispered his name, even the gods watched his every step. His name was Achilles, the greatest warrior the Greek world had ever known. From the moment he was born, his destiny seemed to have been woven by the fates themselves. The son of the goddess Thetis and King Peleus, Achilles carried both divine and mortal blood in his veins. No man fought like him. No spear flew with greater speed. No enemy remained standing once his fury was unleashed. But there is one detail that many people overlook. Achilles' true tragedy was never his famous vulnerability in the heel. His greatest weakness had always been his heart, and that heartbeat outside his own chest. Today, we will dive into one of the most moving stories in Greek mythology. A tale of friendship, love, pride, destiny, and loss. A myth that has endured for more than 3,000 years because it still speaks directly to the deepest wounds of the human soul. Why did Greece's greatest warrior abandon the Trojan War precisely when his companions needed him the most? What transformed a man who was almost divine into a force of destruction capable of terrifying even the gods? And why did the death of a single companion completely alter the fate of the war? The answer is not found in swords, it is not found in shields, nor even in glory. It begins with a single name: Patroclus. But before we can understand the fury that set Troy ablaze, we must first discover how the bond between these two men was forged. And that story begins long before the famous war. Before we continue, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with anyone who loves mythology and psychology, and leave a comment saying, "True strength is born from the heart." Now prepare yourself, because each chapter will reveal an even deeper layer of this extraordinary tragedy. Chapter 1. The Bond that Defied Destiny. Long before the walls of Troy, there were two young men destined to change history. Achilles was the prince of Phthia. Patroclus was an exile. As a child, Patroclus accidentally killed another boy during a dispute. As was customary in ancient Greece, he was forced to leave his homeland to prevent a blood feud between families. He was then welcomed by King Peleus, the father of Achilles. There, an extraordinary friendship began. The two grew up almost like brothers under the guidance of the wise centaur Chiron. While many imagine Chiron teaching only the art of combat, his lessons reached far beyond warfare. He taught music, medicine, astronomy, ethics, self-discipline. To the Greeks, a true hero had to master not only the sword, but also his own soul. While everyone saw Achilles as the perfect future weapon, Patroclus saw only a young man carrying an impossible burden. Because Achilles knew his own prophecy, his mother, Thetis, revealed to him two possible paths. The first offered a long, peaceful life, one that would eventually fade into obscurity. The second promised eternal glory, but an early death. Achilles chose glory. At that moment, he believed he was sacrificing only his own life. He had no idea that the price would be far greater. Without realizing it, he was also condemning the person who would become the most important part of his existence. But destiny never destroys a man all at once. First, it plants the seed of pride, and that is exactly what happened. Chapter 2. When pride becomes stronger than reason. 10 years had passed since the beginning of the Trojan War. Neither side could claim victory. Then arose a conflict far more dangerous than any battle, a clash between two egos. Agamemnon, supreme commander of the Greek forces, claimed Briseis, the woman who had been awarded to Achilles as a prize of war. Today, such an act may seem like nothing more than a dispute over possession. But in the mindset of the time, it was a public humiliation. Achilles did not merely lose Briseis, he lost his honor before the entire army. Wounded in his pride, he made a decision that would change history forever. He simply withdrew from the war. While thousands of soldiers died every day, Achilles remained inside his tent. He played his lyre. He sang the songs of ancient heroes. He gazed out across the sea. Outside, men cried out for help. Inside the tent, an unbearable silence prevailed. But there was one man who could no longer endure the situation: Patroclus. He watched his friends die every day. He watched the Greek ships being set ablaze. He watched despair spread through the camp. And helplessly, he watched the man he admired most refuse to move. Without realizing it, Achilles had already begun to lose what mattered most to him. Because, more often than not, it is not the enemy that destroys our lives. It is pride. And Achilles' pride was about to demand its cruelest price. Chapter 3. The armor that belonged to another. When the Trojans finally reached the Greek ships, the situation became desperate. Patroclus entered Achilles' tent. He brought no accusations, only tears. He begged Achilles to return to the battlefield. When Achilles refused, Patroclus made one final request. He asked to borrow his armor. The mere sight of that legendary armor would convince the Trojans that Achilles himself had returned. Perhaps that alone would be enough to save thousands of lives. Achilles agreed, but under one condition: drive them away from the ships, then return immediately. Do not pursue glory, it does not belong to you. Those words would echo through history forever. At that moment, Achilles helped Patroclus put on the armor. He fastened every bronze plate, adjusted the helmet, placed the spear in his hands. Perhaps neither of them realized it, but this would be the last time they would ever see each other alive. There is profound symbolism in this scene. Patroclus was not simply wearing armor, he was wearing Achilles' identity. He was assuming a role that could never truly be his, and no human being can carry another person's destiny forever. What seemed like the perfect solution became a trap prepared by the gods themselves. And beneath the towering walls of Troy, destiny was already waiting for its next victim.